The residents of a closed city have been afraid of an unknown disease all their lives, but it turns out that the rich invented it in order to prevent the poor from believing in themselves and breathing the same air as them. Little Abigail is hurrying through the woods when suddenly her father does not pick her up. The old man shows the girl how to find her way properly by navigating by the stars, and the company hurries home. On Main Street, Jonathan and Abigail Foster are met by the head of the security department, William Garrett. The girl happily throws herself on his neck, but the old man is not very happy to see an employee. He immediately guesses that the patrolman came for him. All the scientist has to do is ask Garrett for some time so he can put his daughter to bed one last time. Abigail walks into her father's office and sees him hiding something in a stash behind the mirror. Jonathan then comes into the bedroom, and after kissing the girl goodnight, he gives her the pendant and disappears. Waking in the middle of the night from her mother's screams, Abigail sees her father being taken away for good. Many years pass. After waking up from a nighttime flight, Abigail finds a note with the address of a meeting place, and she heads there across town. In the streets at this time, a speech is repeated that all of the city's residents are under threat. An unknown disease has been raging for years, and the government is culling the infected with a special device, sending them to be lethally injected. To keep the city safe, it has long been surrounded by a high fence, behind which no one can get. As darkness falls, a curfew is declared in the city, but two groups of troublemakers, rich and poor teenagers, meet on the outskirts of town. The majors brag that they have a poor boy as a hostage, but Abigail stands up for the boy and offers Jan, the leader of the gang, a deal. As she is the first to light the lantern on the top floor of the abandoned building, he will let the boy go, but if Jan does it first, Abigail will become his hostage instead of his friend. While the rivals are competing, their friends fall into the hands of the patrol, but despite this, Abigail climbs to the topmost tower and sets fire to the lantern instead of hiding or escaping. She has to fight a security agent, and after removing his mask, the girl sees Uncle Roy, her father's friend who betrayed him. She recalls an episode from her childhood in which old Jonathan shared some secrets with Roy. Abigail's memories are interrupted by her mother, who reminds the girl of Frontier Day. Margaret asks her daughter to go get flour, but the girl is afraid to get out from under the covers, expecting someone to come for her. Abby only has to agree when her mother attracts the attention of passersby, trying to shame the lazy girl. No sooner does Abby step outside than a patrolman follows her. When she returns home, she hides around a corner, and her mother lowers an earthen pot on her pursuer's head. Margaret panics and packs her things, but her daughter reassures her that Roy will not give them away, for he himself is breaking the law by visiting his wife. Besides, he was taken on the same date as Jonathan, which means that there is a chance that the old man is also alive. Once Roy comes to his senses, he has to answer questions to keep the women from revealing his terrible secret. Abby and Margaret go to a Boundary Day celebration in the evening. While the crowd is engrossed in the speech, the girl escapes and heads for the tunnels, a map of which she took from Roy's interrogation. Along the way, Abigail becomes an unwitting witness to an interrogation in which Garrett gets rid of those who ignored his questions. Abigail climbs into the home of Ethan Blake, another of her father's comrades, who Roy says should know of Jonathan's whereabouts. The girl finds valuable documents, but she fails to leave in time, so she hides under a table. There she manages to overhear a conversation between Ethan, from which it becomes clear that he is about to leave town, and the girl climbs into the trunk of his car to get out, not realizing she is being followed. Blake's road is blocked by an unknown man in a cloak and carrying a gun. He takes the counselor hostage, and Ethan has to tell the checkpoint that the truck full of people is his security. The cars stop outside the building where the infected detainees are being held. As Ethan and the stranger leave, Abby climbs out of the trunk and looks around, spotting a huge flying machine above her head where the rich government men live. Sneaking inside, Abigail finds the entrance to the prison, but when she is spotted and returns to the street, something terrible is going on. Their bodies are flying in a cloud of smoke, and it is not at all clear who with whom is fighting. The girl is caught in a strange flash and falls to the ground. She is carried off the battlefield by a hooded stranger, but a pendant presented by her father, which falls into the hands of someone, is left in the snow. Abigail is brought to the camp, but she never regains consciousness, remembering the day she spent with her father then. He took her to the wall, but the old man refused to talk about what was behind her, shifting the conversation to a tale about a king who did not want anyone else's eyes to shine but his. After coming to her senses, Abigail tries to escape, but once outside, she realizes that she is in a wonderful, magical, and kind world. The girl is approached by Spencer. He promises to teach her everything, because the girl is one of those in whom abilities have been awakened, and now she finds herself in a world among similarly gifted people that the security department is trying to get rid of. Spencer brings the new girl to Marcus, the local wizard. There, Abby learns that there is no epidemic, it's a cover-up the authorities invented to take people with a special gift and not share power with them. Norman, a weirdo inventor, shows up at the shop. He shows his guest a trick on the pages of a book, but Marcus chases the guy away, instructing him to fix some device. Abby notices the unusual thing and curiosity causes her to take the device without permission, launching accidental streams of sparks down the street. Panic ensues on the block as a townsman informs everyone that the faceless men are approaching. Within seconds, the magical street turns into a neighborhood of beggarly scum, and only a couple of people in poor man's suits remain on the street. The patrolmen leave, not wanting to get dirty, and the street begins to come alive. Spencer stops Bale and asks him to train Abby, who according to the old man has extraordinary strength. The girl is brought into the hall and sees her father's picture on a booth with pictures of criminals. She doesn't have time to discuss it with the rebels. Bale gives her a few minutes to get ready and start training. Abby fails the training and Bale bans her from participating in the war. After finding out who her father is, the guy warns his guest that he will personally turn her into the inspector for trying to escape. Abigail remembers her father showing her an adult reflection of herself. Thinking about it, she comes to see Spencer, who must teach her how to control her gift. The old man tells her about the magical devices, forgetting every couple of seconds what he just said. When the old man shows Abby the hiding place in the wall, she remembers her father's mirror. The girl escapes without explaining to Bale why she needs it, and the guy goes back to questioning the patrolman and arguing with the jealous Stella. Opening the stash, Abby finds her father's papers and a strange object in it. She is trying to figure out what it is when Margaret, who has had time to become very worried about her daughter, enters the room. She tells her mother everything she has learned about her father's locket. Abby realizes that all these years he has been repressing her power so that she will not be recognized as infected. Abigail tells her mother that she is going in search of her father. Margaret fears for her daughter, but she lets her go, wishing she would listen to her heart. The girl finds Roy, and after showing him drawings of her father, she demands that he tell her about the place. It turns out that all the gifted are being held in a special prison, for if they are killed, the gift will return to the city. Blackmailing the traitor, Abby arranges for him to meet her at midnight to lead her through the tunnels to the flying car that will take her to the prison. Abby returns to the rebel camp and tells them about the prison, offering to attack the prison together, but Bale orders the girl to shut up. Not trusting the daughter of Foster, who invented the diagnostic device, Bale chases the girl away with no intention of following her plan. Roy betrays Abigail and a black car comes for her at midnight. Garrett shows the girl her locket and offers to join the security department, and when Abby refuses, he orders Roy to kill her. For refusing, Garrett destroys Roy with a single blow, and the right to take out the girl goes to Ethan. Unlike his colleague, he easily agrees, but Bale comes to Abby's aid. He raises the ground and destroys the faceless. The guy fails to escape. Garrett stuns him with a special device and lifts him above the ground. This time it is Abigail who has to rescue her friend, after which she drags his wounded body back to the camp. Taking over for Marcus, Abby tends to her wounded friend. The boy regains consciousness and the pair argue again, but they are reconciled by a device the girl found in her father's stash. Bale tells her that a fairy is hidden inside the device years ago. They switch sides with the government, so they can't let her out into the world. The boy convinces the new girl to join them and, forgetting about saving her father, gets busy saving the city. Abby recalls another story from her father. Back then, he showed her how to start a fire by drawing a strange symbol on a sheet of paper. Remembering this, the girl does go down into the tunnels, while the rebels start a coup. Bale and his men break through the gate, but Abigail manages to warn them that it is a trap. A whole army of inspectors has arrived from abroad. The leader drives the men away, but at that moment deadly spells are already flying in their direction. Chaos erupts on the street. Crowds of enemies scurry in different directions, aiming at each other. Abby finds herself trapped, surrounded by gunfire from all sides, and manages to use her powers to destroy an entire squad at once. Bale then launches a beam into the sky, informing the townspeople that the fight has begun. The guy is arrested, and the guy discovers that they have been betrayed by Stella. She has been serving Inspector Garrett all along. The rebels destroy the evidence, realizing that soon they will come for them, and Abby does not understand why no one goes to save the arrested friends. Unable to shout to her comrades, the girl releases the fairy, hoping that at least she will help everyone believe in her powers. The girl gathers her comrades and gives them a fiery speech. She urges everyone to go with her to help the arrested, and almost everyone but Spencer heads for the new leader. The old man stays behind to meet the inspectors with a bang. Abby's squad sneaks into the prison in a flying machine, and while the girl frees the prisoners, Marcus lifts the machine into the air. The girl releases the ferry, and she takes the ship outside the city limits, making her way to freedom. The ship breaks through the protective dome and heads for the towers where the other prisoners are held. The rebels manage to capture the guards, and Abby and her friends look around the prison, hoping to find her father, who is nowhere to be found. Abigail has to admit that her father works for the government and there's no point looking for him among the prisoners. There's only the device he invented to draw power from the gifted. The wrestlers make their way to the roof and see ships approaching the fort. Meanwhile, Abby is transported back to her childhood and her father gives her clues to proceed. Abigail raises her head as her father always told her in moving by his clues. She finds the right answer by connecting 3 devices of different kinds. The girl wants to gather the rays to destroy the device. Bale, meanwhile, is about to buy her girlfriend some time. Faceless men break into the fort and, caught in a smoke trap, they fall one by one, but then Garrett shows up in the hall and easily gets rid of the rebels, destroying almost the entire squad. Something doesn't work out for Abby, and she returns to her father in flashbacks to ask for his help. The old man shows his daughter his flashback how he destroyed himself so he wouldn't help Garrett destroy the special ones. Garrett injures Bale badly. When the inspector is about to finish off the rebel, Stella covers him with her body. Abby manages to solve her father's latest riddle, and she finds a way to destroy the device the very moment Bale destroys Garrett. A wave passes through the city, freeing people. In her memory, Abigail tells her father that she has succeeded. Now a new story begins for both the city and Abigail and Bale.